Hey guys, so I'm gonna go through all of the techniques that I know for when you get ramped over a ramp over your head. There are quite a few ways to deal with this, and it's a really common situation. So I'll go through each of them. I'll try to go start with the more simple stuff first. So commonly what you see, so say the enemy is the brick ramps and you're the wood, so you get ramped over your head. Commonly what most people do is like jump and put a floor, and then they either like ramp out to the side. Um, but the problem with this is you don't have anything to connect a ramp to the top for protection, so you're exposed. If you're ramping out like this, they can just shoot you in the head. So what you can do here, you can place a floor above them or a triangle, either work, and the triangle can stop their push as well, and then you can use that to get the top ramp, and then 180 with, this one's probably not necessary, 180 with 180 with walls to get back up on top of um, your ramp tunnel. So that's one thing. Um, Another is you can just place, like if you're really high up and you don't want to risk trying to jump onto the floor because sometimes you phase through it, you can just place the floor above your head and then ramp tunnel back this way, and then do this again, this technique, the 180 with walls. This is what I'm calling it. This one is probably, it's pretty simple because it's easy to just remember, okay, place a floor, do a 180, and just ramp tunnel this way. Um, Something else is if you do the jump, you can also, if you do this jump one, you can also ramp tunnel, but you're ramp tunneling off of their own ramp, so they could just run on the top of your ramp tunnel and wait for you to try to turn around. So I don't recommend that. Um, Another thing that you can do is you can place a wall to the side to get the ramp started, but this requires you to jump to get on top, and there's a risk of you hitting your head and not getting up top. And so it's kind of safer, I feel like, to place a floor underneath the ramp in order to ramp off of, and then you can place a floor on your head to get the ramp tunnel going. I jumped, messed up my jump timing there. Let me just destroy this here, actually. Oh god. Okay, so another technique. This one is the triangle trap. If you are right here about and you get ramped over, you can easily place a triangle by jumping. Sometimes you don't have to jump, and then you can even wall like this around the triangle and place a trap. But if they're standing all the way touching this side of the wall, they will not get trapped by this trap. So you either have to place a second trap, or you can place a bounce pad so that they will not be able to avoid that trap. They'll try to avoid it and get bounced into it. So typically what the easiest way to get out of this is your own ramp, as if you're the person who's getting trapped, so you just ramp and fall out. But the enemy's standing right here, so you need to then like shotgun them. And they could have also placed a floor. If they place a floor, then you're pretty screwed, and you just gotta, you know, hope you don't get trapped, or as soon as you see the triangle being placed, you turn around and get out of there before it happens, or you start, you know, using an SMG or something to knock down one of those newly built walls. So one of the problems though with this is, see, I'll just build side by side. Not problem, but something that's hard to, that can make it inconsistent is if you get ramped and you're all the way up here like this, you cannot place the triangle even until you jump and get backwards jump, and then you come backwards a little bit, and then you can place it. So sometimes you'll be used to holding forward, and you'll be trying to place it, and you might hold forward and jump, and if you let go of forward, you fall back a little bit further into the right position. But if you hold W, I think you stay too close. Um, let's see. Let me test that again real quick. Alright, so if I hold W and try to place it, yeah, it doesn't place. If I let go of W when I jump, it's also not placing. I might be looking up too far. No. So it's kind of inconsistent. So I actually will S key and then jump, and then that lets you place it. So you actually have to back up to place it. And you also cannot do this. I also tried to go like, if you turn this direction so that you can look down, you can place it, but you can't place it above, but you can place it there, which it doesn't help too much. So just remember, S key and jump, and then place the triangle while you're doing that. Okay, so another technique, bit more advanced, is a flanking double floor technique. So this is kind of similar. You don't want to be too high when they ramp over your head. If you're already here, if you're already here where your head's gonna hit, I would just recommend you do a floor over your head 180 and ramps, or a floor under the ramp and ramp tunnel out. One of those previous techniques, because this one requires you to jump outward without hitting your head. So if you get ramped over when you're like here, then you have time to do it. You bring out your floors, and you need to be sprinting, of course, and you're going to jump out to the side, and not like that. Like this, you place this ramp first, and then you connect to this ramp to catch your fall, and then you can take a shot at them. Typically, they're not expecting you to be behind them in this case, because they just ramped over your head. And so typically, you can get one shot off for free, and then you can even build a ramp, and if they try to keep ramping up, you'll be one step ahead of them, and you can continue to do some, floor ramps if they try to get higher, something like that. Pretty cool technique. I don't see very often, and it throws people aren't expecting it usually. So another kind of variation of that, except without the flank, is, okay, this time we're brick, is you do it on your side. And like this, you do a floor, you jump out, you do a 180, put a floor behind you, a floor, then connect a floor out to where you're going to land. And after you connect that floor, then you place a ramp under your feet. You have to land kind of close to, like, about around here. Otherwise, you will phase through. You'll phase through the ramp. You'll end up underneath it. Then once you get here, you go like this, and now you're pretty high above. So there's another variation of this technique, which is, I'm not going to do the jump. You just go like this, and then you 180, and you do it more quickly. But the problem is you're pretty much at the same height as them, and they can just headshot you if they're already aimed right when you get to the top here. So this one gives you some extra height. But while you are, before this floor is placed, you're walking up the ramp with your back, with your back to them, and then you're gonna have to 180 and do that floor ramp. So you have to do it very quickly, otherwise, because there's a small window where they can shoot you in the back. I prefer the flanking double floor technique to these ones because it's less expected. There's more surprise. I feel like you're more likely to get a shot off on them for free while they're turning to see while they're turning to when they realize you're behind them. Either they realize you're behind them before you shoot, and while they're turning, you get a free shot off, or they don't even realize you're behind them, but they hear you built, they think you're building off to the side and you get a free shot, and then they're reacting after that. And then while they're reacting, you already have time to start building and stay one step ahead of them with your elevation. So there's two other things that I know about. So in this situation, you haven't been ramped over your head yet, but say they placed the ramp just before you did. They placed their second ramp just before you did. So you know they're going to place the third ramp just before you, and it's going to ramp over your head. You can place a triangle on your side from pretty far down. I'm not even on the second ramp yet, and I can place that triangle. What this does is they cannot place a ramp. The triangle stops the ramp from being placed. And so they could, if they know what they're doing, they could react quickly and just, do a floor and a ramp and jump. But this is used in a situation typically where you're just using it for a split second and then you're running up and you're editing through the triangle and either taking a shot at them or then ramping over their head at the same time they're just starting to figure out what they're gonna do. Because this doesn't happen, people don't see this technique very often, so they oftentimes don't have an immediate response that they know to go for. Okay, another thing is if you're going to do any type of ramp tunneling, a pretty cool technique is, let me break this. Okay, so if you do get ramped over and you're gonna do some type of ramp tunnel like this, you can use a bounce like this and get a shot off, and then you can even build off of it. So it depends how you jump. So if I just walk into it like this, it bounces me really far at this angle, the angle based on the ramp. But if you are jumping before you place the jump pad, you place this ramp. I can't do it unless it's broken. So I place this ramp, and then if I just place the bounce pad right now, it will bounce me far. It'll bounce me at this strong angle. But if I jump and place the bounce pad, I can kind of control and avoid from going way too far off in that direction, and then that allows me to take a shot more without then flying into the low ground. Take a shot and then even perhaps, build or something after the shot. It just gives you more time, basically. All right, so I think that covers pretty much everything I know. Actually, I'll do one other thing, just to. This isn't like a really good technique or anything, but just to explain something. So it doesn't matter which side you're coming off of, but it's just a ramp tunnel technique. You don't need to do this walls with 180. You can literally just turn and build a ramp like this, but it is not as high. It's not as high as using the walls, and so that's why it's not used very often. So I'll show you side by side. So if you do the same thing, but you place the walls give you one extra level of height. And so it's safer because if this person does something like this, they're at the same height as you while you were building that, and then you're running up and you're running right into like a shotgun headshot, potentially. This one, even if they build this extra level of height, you're still above them. All right, so get in the playground, practice the ones that you don't know, and you should be able to deal with this situation a lot more easily now after some practice. Good luck.